melt is when I'm ocean wave.
Today on Nova Legends and also UVA Legends podcast, I have the great Mickey Thompson, coach at Stonebridge High School. Coach is in his 34th year at Stonebridge, 20 district titles, 17 regional titles, 12 state finalists, including 3 state titles. Coach played at Broad Run for the great Jerry Smith. I believe Coach was class of 77. Is that right, Coach, at Broad Run? And then he played for UVA for a guy named Dick Bestwick. Coach Bestwick preceded legendary George Welsh at UVA. Coach played offensive line and defensive line at UVA. Went to Orange County, where another legendary Northern Virginia coach stopped on his way here, Danny Meier. So that's it. I talked to Coach Meier, a few months ago about that. It was interesting. Coach started his head coaching career at Parkview. Ended up made a high-profile move to Stonebridge. His AD, Jim Pearson and Dave Himbach were coming to Stonebridge and made the move at Stonebridge. The rest is history, as they say. Coach's sons, Patrick and Zach, twins, part of his first state titleist teams. They still are his coordinators on this Stonebridge team. Zach played in the NFL for a few years. The other son, Joe, 7 years later, played quarterback for him. He played at UNCC. Don't want to forget about his daughter, Amy. Coach and his wife teach at Stonebridge. He's coached several NFL players, his son, but also Jonathan Allen, current Commanders player. Coach, did I get most of that correct?
Yeah, you did. You had a lot of it correct. I was amazed.
It's a lot. Well, thanks. Well, first of all, Coach, I'm from Robinson High School. I played for another Wahoo, Bob McKeag in basketball. And when I was at Robinson, Loudoun County was the country. I remember there being 4 high schools there: Parkview, Broad Run, Loudoun County, Loudoun Valley. And when you look at Loudoun County today, it is crazy. We just moved here from my older kids went to Yorktown and Arlington. We just moved here this summer to the Riverside District. It's just amazing the development has gone through. Talk about how Loudoun County has developed in front of your very eyes.
Well, I mean, we struggled to compete in athletics with Fairfax County for many years, and Robinson was kind of the standard for all of us when I was younger. I know when I went to Parkview, I wanted Parkview to be the next Robinson. I talked about Robinson all the time, and I went to games at Robinson and just the support that they had, and so it just slowly transitioned here. So to where I believe we have as good or better support in Loudoun, and we have just as good as teams. So it has been something where we always looked at Fairfax as the standard and those schools as who we wanted to be, and now I believe we've reached that point now where we're at least on equal par with them.
Yeah. Well, there's also something exciting about being at the growing part of a population growth. Like, for example, Robinson was a new school. I guess I got there the 4th or 5th year it was open, but you came to Stonebridge when it was opening, and I mean it was going to share a district, I believe, was it Broad Run or was it Parkview, and that school hadn't done that well, but I guess you saw the population coming here. You knew the administrators were coming here, but it is so important to be at the front kind of the population growth if you want to have a football program.
Exactly. I mean, you've got to have numbers in order to survive. And once you get numbers, if you can create the culture, then, you're off and running.
Yeah. Well, you played at Broad Run for Jerry Smith. What kind of coach was Coach Smith? And how did you guys do in high school?
I loved high school football. I loved playing for him. He's my hero. I mean, I feel like I fell in love with football because of him. He was a player's coach. It was exciting. He was right there with us. I just felt that connection. And, college football was okay, but it didn't measure up to high school football for me. And I knew when I got out, I didn't know if I wanted to be a head coach, but I knew I wanted to coach high school football.
Yeah. Well, when you think about him as a coach back then, and even your early days as a coach, my guess is coaching has probably changed tremendously. Not just the tactics, but how you talk to kids, how you deal with parents, boosters. Your job as a coach, and also compared to Coach Smith, it must be almost radically different than it was 50 years ago.
Oh, it's completely different, and that's the biggest problem I've had in the 30 years or 40 years I've been coaching. 40 years now, I guess. It's just being able to stay current and stay ahead of the game a little bit, because it has nothing to do with X's and O's. It has to do with handling kids and how to create the culture and, just change with the times a little bit, but not give in too much.
Yeah. Well, you hear a lot about, football not being dead, but having struggles with numbers. My daughter cheers for Riverside's JV team, and you see some programs with 18 kids on the JV team. The team we played last night, they had a combined JV freshman team because they didn't. That was Briar Woods. They didn't have enough kids to have a standalone freshman team. But then when I go to Stonebridge, and I came to the Madison game, sat on the sidelines, took pictures, and I also went to a game at Madison later on this season. Football is alive and well. I mean, you can feel the energy. You got huge rosters, huge coaching staffs, huge crowd support. There seems to be, different stories about how football is doing these days.
Well, you have your core at every school, I believe, and then you have the kids who might want to play, and that's where winning helps. Convincing those kids to come out. We have a lot of kids who have never played before playing for us now. I mean, our numbers are okay. They're down about 20 or 30. We're not carrying near as many as we've had, but a lot of our guys have never played before also. So there's not much depth in football right now. You got your starters, and then you got a huge drop off, and it's developing those kids and trying to find those kids is the hard job right now. And so we've struggled with JV also this year, believe it or not. Just feeling a team of, especially with linemen, we just don't have any linemen. So I understand the struggle now a little bit, because we're starting to experience it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you raised 3 great boys and great football players as well. And obviously you're comfortable with them playing contact football. What do you tell parents who are struggling with whether their kid can deal with the contact of the game? I know they made some changes and they're doing some contact later on in the career. They're playing flag early, which didn't exist when me and you played. Right. So what do you tell parents about playing their kids playing football?
Well, safety wise, I mean, as far as injuries are concerned, it's not the leading sport when it comes to injuries. Now you have a greater chance of a catastrophic injury because of the contact, but you have more sprained ankles, more bumps and bruises in some other sports than you really do with football. We don't have much contact through the week. It's about getting ready for the game and trying to find the right guys and put them in the right place, and then play the game, and then rest, recover, get ready for the next game. But for some people, that's not enough. I mean, I understand it. I mean, it's you got a chance if your kid's not coached right or doesn't understand the game right, he can put his head down one play and have issues. It's and I never want to convince somebody to play. I want them to want their kid to play or be part of the program, because you don't want to go down that path and try to convince anybody, because it's just not going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah, and the changes they've made to the game to make it safer, you think they're moving in the right direction? They've made smart changes, or are there more things they can do to help, make football safer and more acceptable to more people?
Well, I like the way they're doing it now. I mean, some of the targeting, sometimes you get frustrated watching it on TV and that kind of thing. But I mean, honestly, I'd rather be safe on that side than the other side. So, just keeping the crown and helmet out of the game, making you keep your head up. It's just getting more and more kids are growing up, understanding that a little bit more. They're slowly getting that, because guys have come in and cut tackled and really put their head down and cut tackled and had injuries. And, it's hard to break that if that's a over the years, and it's just it's slowly getting to the point where you're seeing less and less of the targeting. There for a while, it would seem like every game there was 2 or 3 targeting calls, and you're seeing less and less of that. So
Yeah.
I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. How about putting staffs together? There was a time in Northern Virginia, Fairfax County, that I know coaches were having a hard time finding assistants for basketball. And you don't need a huge staff for basketball, but the way the budgets are, you don't have a lot of money to spend on your assistant coaches. So, they're coaching because they love it and they want to work with you. They believe in what you're doing. I look at your staff. You have an unbelievable staff in terms of resume. I mean, you have pro players, college players. They've been coaching for a long time. A lot of the people on your coaching staff. I know it's the same thing in Madison. They've got coaches have been at Madison for many, many years. Is it difficult to put together these coaching staffs, or is it like players, and that when you have success, it becomes easier to get good people to sacrifice and help you out?
It's really tough. I've been fortunate because both my sons came back and coached with me, and I've had three former players come back and coach with me. So there's 5 guys that have stayed with me for a while, and you just fill in around them and try to find the right fit. But it's really difficult to find people that have the knowledge or the time to put into high school football, especially the way it is now. You don't get much support. I mean, I get great support from my principal, my AD, but the county does not provide a whole lot of support. It's not a great system. They don't. It just makes it harder and harder. It's more things you got to do, more paperwork you got to do, more little courses you got to take, and it's just constant harassment, in my opinion, of coaches, and it takes away from their ability to coach and take care of the kids because you're spending so much time. We need to have a better system to support coaches, and our leadership needs to make coaching easier, not harder, every year. And we just don't do that. That's one of the things I'm going to do when I'm finished. I'm going to spend time advocating and try to get some things straight for high school coaches, or we're not going to have anybody. I mean, when I applied for the Parkview job, there were 30 some applicants. There's I don't know how many applicants when I applied for the Stonebridge job. Whenever I leave and open on this job up, they'll have 3 applicants. I mean, you just don't have a whole lot of people applying for these jobs because it's so much work and so much time that it just makes the job unenjoyable sometimes.
Yeah. Should coaches be paid more, and should their time coaching count towards retirement, or the things that we can do to make it financially more worth their time?
Well, I certainly think we deserve to be paid more, but the biggest thing is just the headaches of, just making it harder and harder to coach as far as, the paperwork that you have to do, the support that you get, the complaints that you get. If you get a complaint, one complaint can blow up and take all of your time, even if it's just a kid, unfounded kid. I mean, there's not a whole lot of support as far as weeding through that stuff. I mean, every little thing is brought to you and you have to deal with it. And it's really not a great situation right now.
My guess is probably worse for coaches that haven't won 3 state titles and don't have your
I'm not complaining from my point of view. I've had the best support I could ever have.
Right.
I have great parental support, great relationships. We've been very fortunate. So I'm looking at it from a different lens from what I see from other people. For me, it's been made easier because my AD and my principal jump in. They take some of that off my shoulders. They help with whatever. I help them. We all work together, but you don't always have that.
Yeah, I interviewed the Yorktown coach, basketball coach who stepped down this year, and Yorktown doesn't have tons of talent. They don't get the best athletes in the world, but the basketball team has been competitive. He got in trouble, he felt, for reading statistics to the players at halftime, as if, we can't even deliver bad news. And so it was really crazy. And people on the outside probably don't know these things that are going on inside the game and make it, very, very tough for coaches. I did notice that your son, Joe, hasn't coached or hasn't joined your staff yet. Do you think he's going to also be a coach one day?
Well, he's he's around 1 or 2 days a week. I'm excited about that because, there's been times where I've had all three of them there. My daughter, who's the best athlete, she could probably help us football wise because, to be perfectly honest, sometimes I want to look at them and go, you're not as tough as my daughter and you can't play as hard as my daughter. You need to see what a real athlete and how hard they really work. And sometimes I think a girl athlete would help them open their eyes a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. What sports did Amy play?
She played soccer at Tennessee, and then then she went to Boston, and she played there, and now she's in grad school there.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, your trademark, and you said earlier that tactics are a one piece. A great coach can probably win in dozens of different ways. And I talked to Coach Overton about this, is how important is the spread offense to your success? Could you run the single wing? I think I asked him, and be successful. And he said, yeah, the scores would be different. And, but yeah, that's only a part of coaching. And how about you? When I was playing youth league football, there was a team that ran the single wing, the whole program. And it was a really old school way of running, of playing offense. And they were really good. They were tough to guard. When I went to see you guys play this year, because I'd never seen Stonebridge play, it didn't look like a single wing to me. It looked like a shotgun and all different options. It looked very complicated to me. But anyway, describe your single wing and how important to your success has that offense been?
Well, it was really important early on because we were struggling. My career record was like 40-40. And then we were having a hard time moving the ball. And anytime you're playing, we moved up to AAA. We were at Parkview, and we were the only school at AAA. So we were playing all the Fairfax schools. We were struggling to move the ball. And there's nothing worse than you can't move the ball. So even if your defense is playing well, they lose hope because you can't score, you can't move the ball. And we were looking at Miami's offense, and then I started looking at Giles and their offense, and we went to Colorado. All of us flew out to Colorado, to Manio Springs, and watched them. And then we started running some of the single wing, and we actually, because of the deception of it, we started moving the ball, winning. People started talking about it. Nobody could figure it out. Some people thought it was a joke, but we just kept scoring and scoring. And since we started that offense, we've been averaging 38 points a game for the next, we're on year 25 now. So 38 points a game for 25 years is pretty good. Now we've had, because it was a double tight and it was no wide receivers, what you start to find out is everybody wants to play in it. And then now the spread game comes, and you got wide receivers everywhere and these great athletes, and they don't want to come to your school because you're going to be in that double tight single wing. And so we've had to adapt, and we've had to run more spread and kind of mix it up and try to make a spread single wing. It's kind of so we do stuff that nobody else does because we're just trying to incorporate single wing into spread so that we can have the wide receivers, so that the great athletes still want to come to your school. There are games where we know we're going to win, and we don't run any single wing.
Yeah.
We just run spread, throw it around, and then we play a game that, is a tight one or a difficult one. Then we run a little more single wing because we need that to get over the hump, because we can't quite match up skill-wise with them, especially when we go south. We struggle with some of those teams in the past, so we've had to mix it with some single wing, which I think gives us a little bit of an advantage. So that's why you see less and less of it, trying to keep it modern so that we develop kids for college. The single wing, they're not going to be spinning around in college. They're going to be playing spread offense. So we've got to get them ready for that. So they got to be able to know that recruiting, we're going to take care of them that way. And so it's been a struggle. I mean, if I had my way, we'd be in double tight single wing every play, and I don't think anybody would ever stop us. But we're not. We can't do that because we're just not going to get the kids or the backing.
Yeah, I interviewed a college coach. I forgot who it was, but he said something that I thought was interesting. He said a lot of the innovation in the game happens at the high school level, because what happens is you got high school coaches everywhere, and they're having to make do with sometimes relatively little resources, or they're more willing to try something at that level than college coaches are. Do you find that true, that high school coaches, will try different things. Like you were talking about how you tinkered with the single wing. Have you found that to be true also?
Yeah, I think we have more flexibility because, we have, a certain population that we have, the certain players that we have, and we got to make do with those. We can't go recruit and get kids to fit our system, which is what the colleges do. So we have to be a little more innovative, and we've got to try to, different things in order to survive sometimes. I mean, one of the things that I went to the single wing about was I knew that if I didn't get a quarterback, I could always survive. You can give us two running backs and we will never throw, and we will move the ball on everybody. With two running backs, we don't have to have a quarterback. Now, if we get a quarterback, now we're really good. So that's the advantage, because you don't always get a quarterback in high school, or a great throwing quarterback or spread quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I was away from football for many years. I didn't really pay attention to it that closely until I started the podcast series. I got back into it. I played a little bit, but I have to say, one of the things that has changed most in high school football is the quality of the passing game, the execution, just how complicated the plays are. That's one of the biggest difference, at least visually to me, is the passing game. What is the basis of that? Why does it seem like the passing game is so much more advanced than it was 40 years ago?
Definitely because of 7-on-7. 7-on-7 teams. Like you said, now flag football is popping up. Kids are trying it because they can run around, catch a football. My fear is that because of flag football and 7-on-7 football, it's going to eventually kill football, because you're not going to get the linemen or the kids that like the hitting or the contact. They just like catching the football and running routes. And we're not doing anything to get those kids excited. So our numbers with that group of kids is dropping, and we're getting more and more receivers. Like our JV team, we dressed 30 some kids for JV team, but 20 of them are receivers. I mean, it's, you got 5 guys that play line or linebackers, and that's it. And you don't have any backups. And, if they get hurt or if they are sick, it's hard to field a JV team sometimes. Even though you have numbers, you don't have the players at the positions.
Yeah, it was different when I played, in that you had a lot of skilled players at freshman, and because youth league was weight for age, and some of your bigger kids didn't really want to play football because they had to play against older kids. So the kids that were like 160 or 175, 8th grade, 9th grade year, they might not have played a lot of football growing up because they had been playing against kids that were so much older than them. And I felt like I had a really good youth league team, and all the kids, even the linemen, ended up being running backs somewhere else and at a higher level. And we were a team of just, really good athletes at the time, and a great coach. So it seems like the basis of that has changed over time.
Yeah, it has. I mean,
yeah. So anyway, let's talk about UVA a little bit. So you went to UVA, and I guess, no, I don't think we had any overlap, because you were gone in 81. I didn't arrive at 84. But why did you decide to go to UVA?
My mom pretty much said I was going there. I mean, I had offers at West Virginia, Pitt, Richmond. Those are the ones I remember. West Virginia is, that's where all my family is. And, I don't know, it seemed like the better place. I mean, a lot of my family members were not happy when I went to UVA, but my mom pretty much said that's the better school for you, academics and all that. So that's where you're kind of going. She'll probably say no, but I pretty much, she made that decision, I think.
What part of West Virginia was your family from?
Charleston, Kenoi County, down Chesapeake, down in that area.
Yeah, I always find it interesting because in Northern Virginia basketball, West Virginia coaches had an outsized impact, because I think it's because basketball was so advanced in West Virginia, because they had small schools. They didn't play football with some of the small schools. And when they consolidated all those schools, they had all these coaches that were really good that needed jobs. And a lot of them, they got like Red Jenkins, Jim Warren, a lot of the old timers are all from West Virginia. It was amazing how many great coaches came from West Virginia. So, but you ended up going to UVA, which I think was a great decision. What are your first memories of the grounds?
Well, I felt a little bit like I didn't quite fit in, being a West Virginia kid. growing up in West Virginia, just a country kind of kid, felt a little out of place. But as time went on, I grew to love it. I know one of the first things I'll always remember is playing at Texas when I was a freshman, and Earl Campbell was the running back. And I didn't know much about Texas, Earl Campbell necessarily then, but it was his senior year, and they rolled us pretty good. But just being there and being a part of that game and getting into that game, and I actually tackled him a couple times. Well, tried to tackle him, but that's probably the biggest thing I remember is this is really big time football, because we played at Texas, and it's etched in my memory, that's for sure.
Yeah. What was Coach Bestwick like? Todd Kirtley, my Robinson fellow alum, he described him as a very nice man.
Yeah, he was. He was good to me. The one thing that I find interesting, I remember him telling me that I went for my visit, and he was actually putting in his office, because I love golf, and I was a good golfer too. And he said, "You can play golf at UVA too in the spring if you want to." And I go, "Oh, I love this." And then of course spring ball got there, and he goes, "You can't play golf. You got to play spring ball." And I go, "Okay, I see how this is going." But he walked in. My dad's a big golfer too, so we went on the visit, and we walked into his office, and he happened to be working on his putting in the office. I mean, how coincidental is that? So,
yeah,
but he was a really good guy. I have great memories of my discussions with him and interactions with him. Gene Epley was the other one. He was the defensive line coach. He was a great guy too.
Yeah. Did you know when George Welsh got there, and Welsh had success at Navy, and Navy, you don't have as much time with the kids as other schools do. Did you know that we were going in the right direction when you heard? I guess you were already gone, but when you heard that George Welsh was coming to you?
No idea. No, I didn't. When I first got there, I think we'd had 30 straight losing seasons, and I think we broke that my freshman year. I think we were 6-5, first winning season, and then we struggled pretty much the rest of the way. The next 3 years, and then I didn't take my redshirt year, and so then I'm leaving, and a new coach is coming, and you have no idea what's really coming. So I never got to play for him, any interaction with him at all.
Well, obviously before Bestwick was there, Sonny Randall was the coach, and
Yes.
Coach McKay told me a story that he sprained his ankle in practice or something, and Coach Randall believed when you got hurt, you had to walk to the hospital. So Coach McKay sprained his ankle, and they made him walk all the way to the hospital by himself with another player that was hurt as well. He said, "This is this is crazy." Well, I know the year you're talking about when they were 6-5, they beat that Georgia team that later on would get Herschel Walker, and they beat him on the road. And I think 2 of our losses were high quality losses. I can't remember offhand, but that was a year where it looked like things were going to turn around for UVA, right, at least briefly. So it must have been a kind of a special year for you.
It was, and I was excited. Like Todd Kirtley, we were semi friends. I mean, we were teammates, of course, but we didn't spend a lot of time together. But I thought he came in and really kind of turned it around for us a little bit. Was consistent play. I thought he was the standard then. So there's a lot of great memories of that at time, because there was a lot of excitement at that time, and it carried on for another year or so, and then it started to dwindle toward, as I was leaving. But you got a glimpse of what it could be. That's for sure.
Yeah. Did you already have a sense that you wanted to be a coach one day when you were playing football?
I did. I mean, and it started with high school, because I watched, in college you have a more business relationship with your coaches. They weren't as much into relationship building as they are now. The college game's done a better job of that. But I knew I had a great relationship with my high school coach. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to have the relationship with players like he did. I wanted the relationship I have with him. To this day, I still have a great relationship. I'm going down in February to see him. He's got a place in Florida. I wanted that for myself with other players, so That was the driving force. And college game, I couldn't wait when I finished, honestly, couldn't wait to get away from it and get to high school where I could build relationships. And, it was more than just football.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you went to Orange County, which is a beautiful county, about 25, 30 miles east of Charlottesville. And you coached there. Coach Meier said it was a really cool place. They even had a radio station that covered the football, and he said the environment was unbelievable. What are your memories of Orange County?
Unbelievable. Loved it. I mean, talking about going someplace to where you felt at home, it's a small town. It was exciting. One of the best coaches I've ever coached with, Danny Meier. I mean, he knew how to motivate people. I was excited every week to see what he had in store. I mean, he would go into the opponent's locker room and write stuff in the locker room and everything. So that when we walked in, he would point to it and say, "Look what they did." And it was crazy. And it was every week I go, "What's he going to do this week?" And it was be a new thing. I mean, I've never seen somebody have so many motivational or ideas or whatever it was. I mean, it was a show every week, and I got goosebumps. I knew it was all fake. I got goosebumps every week. So it was fun time.
Yeah, I forgot that I didn't know there was actually overlap. So you actually coach with Coach Meier, and Coach Meier is a little bit different because in Northern Virginia football, there seems to be a lineage where they all kind of come from under Ed Henry some way, and or Bruce Patrick. And Meier came from outside that lineage. It was. Mm-hmm. I always thought his was a little bit different. His story was a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I lived across the street from his brother. I knew Jamie well. I knew the whole family well. And when I first started coaching, I was at Orange, and so we spent a lot of time together. I think it was there 3 years. So I got to know Danny really well, and it was from Jerry Smith to Danny Meier. And then when I went to Parkview, it was Ed Scott. Those three guys are the guys that kind of formed what I want to do as coach. I take a little bit from all three of them, and they were great mentors for me.
Yeah. Was it strange? Was it strange at all coaching at Parkview when you'd been at their arch rival, Broad Run? You played it for Broad Run. Is that any consideration at all, or at the time you just want to learn the game and learn to coach and just get into it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little different. I was always thinking as I was coaching with Coach Scott at Parkview as an assistant, I was always thinking I'm going to end up at Broad Run. Whenever they had an opening, I was always talking to Jerry at that time, my high school coach, and said I was coming over. And then he quit or retired or whatever. And then he came to Parkview and coached with me as an assistant with me at Parkview for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Then when I came to Stonebridge, he became assistant AD at Stonebridge. So he came over to Stonebridge when I came over to Stonebridge, and he was assistant AD. So got to work for him there also. So got to stay in touch, for many years, after I started being a head coach.
Did you have strong opinions of what kind of head coach you wanted to be after coaching with Coach Meier, with Coach Smith, maybe Bestwick? Did you have strong opinions, or did you just kind of evolve, early and probably throughout your career?
Oh, it's kind of funny because, you work for other guys, you go, we got to throw the ball more. When I was with Danny, I was more, Danny Meier, I was more on the defensive side. When I came to Parkview, I was more on the offensive side. And then, I was always thinking we should throw more, so I said, when I get a head job, we're going to throw the ball. And as soon as I got the head job at Parkview, we started throwing, and we started throwing a lot of interceptions, and we started losing a lot of games. And, and then 3 years later, I'm in a single wing offense that runs. So it's kind of, I always thought I'd be a passing game kind of person, but, I love the offensive line, defensive line, because that's what I played. I love the contact. So, I gravitated towards my roots, not from the fan point of view. I wanted to throw, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, one thing is, as a parent, you've had a lot of close calls. So you've been in the state finals 12 times, which is unbelievable. And you won 3 titles. When you look back on your state titles, are there a lot of differences between the times that you won and the times that you were a finalist? Is it just sometimes the luck of the draw? Sometimes it's the matchup, or the teams that won the title were they just a cut above the teams that got close?
Only 2 times would I say that's true, that they were clearly better than us. Sorry about that. I just had a fly thing. The other games, we've hit 2 goalposts on the final kick to lose, and we've fumbled 3 times inside the 5-yard line on the final drive to lose. So we've been right there, and honestly, it's been heartbreaking to the point where at one point in 2020, I didn't know if I even wanted to. We were playing in the state final, and I didn't even know if I could stomach it again, because I said, and then we miss an extra point or extra point field goal as time's expiring to win it and send it into overtime. I mean, we had the game won. We're on the 1-yard line. We're kicking an extra point to win it, and we missed it. I said, it's happening again. And then we get 2 miraculous catches, to win back-to-back state titles. So we finally got our share of the luck, So it's they're hard to swallow when you lose games at the end. When you're fighting, and you said we gave it our best effort. 2015, we got beat by Highland Springs, and I walked out that field and I was so proud of that team, because we were 4-4 at one point, a lot like what's going to happen this year, hopefully. We were able to turn it around, and we were clearly outmatched, and we played hard, and we could walk off the field, in a loss and feel accomplished a little bit. When you have the heartbreaking ones, man, it's hard, because in your head you keep going, man, if I had done this, especially as a coach, there's so many little things you could have done to change the outcome, and you just dwell on those things for extended periods of time. Yeah. Especially when we went to 9 of the last 12 or 9 of the last 14 state titles. So you're constantly in the state title and you lose again, and you're in the state title again and lose. And it's tough to take sometimes.
Well, when you're in those situations, a state title game, and are you taking more control over certain decisions, maybe play calling, than you would in a normal game? Because obviously you have a great staff and you believe in your staff, but when you're second guessing yourself, are you saying, well, maybe we should have done something differently, but maybe that's not necessarily your call. You're letting your coordinators, make those calls. Is it?
Yeah. I mean, up until 2008, I called all the offense and the defense. And I started letting things go starting in 2008. I think that made us better, I think, because now you get more opinions and you get more thoughts. And if you got good guys coordinating for you, you get better input. So 2008 is when I turned over the defense for the first time. And then I've turned over more and more of the offense. I call most of the offense, but we started developing the spread game, especially with my son and now with Coach Wolf, and their input, and they help with the passing game and all that, where I'm not as proficient. We get a lot more input and a lot better play calls, I think.
Yeah. One thing that frustrates me about high school sports, especially basketball, but football as well, is I think there's too many classifications, and it makes
100%.
It just makes for very uncomfortable type. I know in Stonebridge in basketball last year in the regional, they had to travel all the way to, I guess, like Roanoke or something on a Thursday night or a Tuesday night to play. On the other hand, in Northern Virginia, in the 6C and 6B in Northern Virginia in Fairfax County, they didn't travel at all. Basically, Hayfield would play Edison 4 times in districts, regionals to get to state. So, there's too many classifications in which you got to kind of thread the needle to have a playoffs that makes sense. I like to see them go back to 3 classifications and things. But one thing I love what coaches like you do is you schedule great games in the regular season. Everyone's doing this, and they're doing it in football, doing it in basketball. You guys went up to Martinsburg and played the perennial state champion up there. You played Quinch Orchard over in Maryland. You played Good Counsel, a great team in Montgomery County Private School. Freedom played DeMatha. I mean, in basketball, it's the same thing. Do you think that they should kind of realign these things so the state playoffs have the prestige that they deserve?
Yeah, I mean, that would really help. I mean, there's 2 sides to that. They started the 6 divisions, primarily for football. So if they would just allow football to be those divisions, it would be better, because basically what was happening was you would have somebody in playing soccer or baseball, and they lose their first few games. They don't care, because they know if they win the tournament, they can still get in, You can lose, you can not win the district, not win the region, and still play in the state final in those sports. So you still have hope. In football, you lose your first couple of games and you're not going to win the district, you were out. So then they said, okay, what are we going to do about that? Well, let's break football up more and make more divisions. So we have 6 divisions. It gives people a better chance, and then you can have some wild cards, and you can have some people still get in the playoffs. They do that for a few years, but then the other sports go, well, wait a second. If football is doing these 6 divisions, so now they have not only 6 divisions, but they have the tournaments and everything. So, you play another sport, you're always got a shot to get in the playoffs. Even if you haven't won a game all year, get to the tournament, win the tournament, you can get in. And so there's still hope. And so the whole thing was started for that reason. And then if we go back to a 3 system, which 3A, only 1A, 2A, and 3A, I think that would be great. But then you're going to go back to the same problem with football. You lose a couple, so I'm not scheduling those games because I got to win the district. Like right now, I know there's not that many people in my region. I can win 2 games and still get in the playoffs. So I'm not really worried about the regular season. It's how I finish and what kind of team I got. So I don't mind playing. I didn't want to play that tough a schedule, but it just we couldn't get any games, so we got stuck. But so there's 2 sides to everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the fans, it's great to have these cross-border matchups, and sometimes it doesn't go your way, but like you said, like Madison last year, I think they were 0-3 or maybe
0-3.
And when they got in the district, they were ready. And they went all the way to the state final and played a really nice game. So let's talk a little bit about your team this year. We talked a little bit about the tough start, but a lot of it is based on your schedule, and probably most of it. Talk a little bit about your team and some of your prospects for the season as you begin district play.
Well, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, we're struggling a little bit culture-wise. Just trying to. I thought we could handle this better. We're not handling as well as I thought. I mean, losing does get to you after a while. 2 of the games we should have won. 2 of them we were clearly outmatched. Should be 3-2 right now. Instead, we're 1-4 with a forfeit. So we haven't even won a game on the field yet. It's difficult. It's difficult right now. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think we're in good shape. I would have told you 2 weeks ago that no problem. But it has dwelled on us a little bit. So, you'll see a really good football team coming up here. It could be a great one. We have the potential to be. I mean, I would say in all my years here, we're right in the top third of the teams I've had. So, we're better than half of the state championship teams that we've had. So, we can definitely turn it around, but there has to be a new mindset. And I think we're moving in the right direction. We've had a tough couple of weeks, but we'll come around.
Yeah. And when you look around, what are the other teams that you've been impressed with so far this year? And maybe it's tough for you because you've been playing out of state, but.
Yeah, I mean, our district, it's hard to tell, or this area, it's really hard to tell. I watch some of the teams, they look bad against one game, and then the next game I see them and I go, okay, they look pretty good there. So, and you're looking at film and it's hard to tell. Riverside is doing well, and Briarwoods is doing well record-wise. What does all that mean? I have no idea. We'll get a test. We'll be able to figure it out a little bit as we play some of these teams, because then we can compare what we see there and then look at the other games, and it gives us a better focus. But we're definitely our goal is to finish 6-4, to win the next 5. We got 3 of them at home. We finally get home games. We've been away since game 1. We've still got 2 or 3 guys out, so we won't get healthy until Briarwoods probably. So we got 3 weeks before we're totally healthy, hopefully, if we don't have any more injuries, and then we'll see where we're at. But we definitely have the tools and the people to be a really good football team.
Well, you weren't just away; you were far away. I mean, your games were in the next state. Well, Coach, you talked a little bit about when you get out of coaching, you want to at least advocate to the administration about ways to help coaching and ways to help the game. But can you also see yourself helping one of your sons on the sidelines and one of your sons being a head coach and you offer that support?
I would love that, but they have no time with their job. They're barely, every year they're going, this might be it for me. This might be it for me. I'm doing the same thing. We're saying, well, as long as we can stay together, let's stay together. I'm not going to walk away from the game with my two sons, still coaching. I mean, that's an opportunity of a lifetime to be able to coach with your sons, have the support of the community that I have, and not continue. But, when they tell me they don't have time, then I don't have time. But I would love it. If they could flip it, I could keep coaching forever.
Yeah.
But that would be a dream of mine if they had the time or energy to do it. That would be amazing.
And your daughter, does she coach some a sport?
She is she's doing grad school at Boston, but she's interning as a weight room assistant for them. So I don't know what she'll end up doing, but she's going to be in grad school the next 2 years. So
wow. Well, look, Coach, this has been great. I never met you before, but I heard the legend, incredible record. I have friends whose kids go to Stonebridge, and they just rave about what a great guy you are, and obviously, coaching records stands on its own. And I hope you coach for many, many years, because I think we need great coaching. It's so many times our great coaches retire much earlier than you have. I mean, we lose coaches to retirement in their 40s now. So I think it's great that you stayed as long as you had, and you've affected this many lives as you have. So anyway, I'm just really glad I got a chance to meet you. Hopefully I can meet you in person one of these days. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of your, so when I found out that I was doing this, I started listening to all your podcasts. They're really interesting. I didn't know you'd done all those. So I went back and I got to see a lot of people that I hadn't seen in years and just listen to them. So it was really interesting.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah. There's some buddies of mine, Kirk and Bird, have interviewed you so many times, and I've always enjoyed those interviews. I've always wanted to interview you myself, but I wanted to do something different because I think those interviews are really good. So I was hoping to take a different tack with you. And you have so much knowledge. I mean, just about the game, and I just hope that a lot of things that you talked about are implemented. So, we can enjoy our sport for many more years. So, yeah. So
I'm going to be active. I'm not going anywhere when I do stop, because like I said, I mean, I really love football because it gave me my opportunities, and it's something that relationship wise is something that's really important to me. And I want the sport to grow, and I don't think it can grow unless we have, when people finish, that they advocate for these guys that are still coaching. And it's not necessarily on the administrative. Our building people are great. It's as you move forward, in the administrative building, that attitudes need to change and appreciation needs to be put forth, that these guys are working that hard. The guys that I have coaching, they put so much time in for nothing, for the kids, and we got to make that easier. I mean, in Loudoun County, do you know that we can only have 2 volunteers in football? So, if Joe Gibbs came up to me, or like if John Allen wanted to coach and he could coach, he wouldn't be allowed. I mean, you only get 2, and it's like, and if you want to have a volunteer for the band, you can have as many volunteers as you want, but for football, we can only have 2. Yeah. Those archaic rules need to change, and I'll get them changed when I'm done, because I'll be a voice. But for now, we're battling that every day. So
well, if you ever need my platform for your voice, I'd love to have you. When I was at the Madison game, so I snuck onto the field. I left my media badges at home, but I wanted to take some photos, and and I was standing next to Fernando Belli. I don't know if you know him; he's an administrator, but I just met him. But he had seen some of my podcasts, and the environment that day, the quality of the execution of the teams. Anyone who was there that day and saw the Stonebridge Madison game, it was an unbelievable game. And I hate to bring it up, Coach, because I know the ending of it. I know it hurt, but the action, the emotion, and just the quality of play was unbelievable. So I think if people experience that environment, you can't get that watching VHFS on TV, whatever it's called. Right. You have to be at the games, and the crowds, the cheerleaders, I mean, it's so amazing, that experience. And I haven't been going to games over the years, and so I've been hooked. I've been going to games. I pick a game every week and go watch a game and enjoy it.
I love the Madison game because I have such respect for their coaching staff, and it's just to walk across the field, even though we lost, to look at counts. I mean, you just look and he's going, sorry about that. I mean, because you know how tough it is, and I remember walking across the field. We kicked the field goal the year before and beat them, and really had no business beating them. And I remember walking across there, just looking at him, going, "Dude, I know you worked hard," and you could just see the emotion from my side of empathy, because I knew what it felt like. And then he gave me the same thing back the next year. I was like, I know it's hurting right now, and he just shook his head, and we left. But
yeah,
that's all you want. You want to go against good coaches, compete, and whatever happens, and be able to walk away. Like, I walked away from that game and I thought, okay, we played hard. We gave up a late score, but I was proud of our effort, and I was proud of what we did, and I could walk away from that one feeling decent now.
Yeah.
The other ones have been rough, but that one I thought we played pretty well.
You played really well. I mean, it was a great contrast in style. Your athleticism is unbelievable. The way you guys play, Madison executes really well. They really play the big downs well. I mean, they convert those big downs. And I was telling my son, he's up here. He's a UVA student, and he was up here. We're watching the Riverside JV team, and he says, "I can't watch high school football, Dad. This is terrible." I'm like, "If you would, this is a JV game. It was a freshman game, actually." And I say, if you could have seen the Madison Stonebridge game, the level of that football, it compares to college football. It's just that the players aren't as big and maybe not quite as fast, but the level of the execution in that game was unbelievable. I said, if you saw the right high school game, you'd be hooked. So, and Justin is, both of you guys, of course, UVA guys, but just class acts. And you guys' coaching staffs are very much the same. All this experience, he has assistant coaches with resumes as big as as long as his. And I mean, you have a great coaching staff as well. I mean, the parallels between the programs are unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite games. That's the great thing, is I don't have to ever worry about that one, because he wants to play us, we want to play them. We don't have to go. At least we got one game, that we can count on.
Exactly. Did you sense? And I think they had faked that reverse on one of the earlier kickoff returns. Did you guys sense that reverse was coming on the kickoff return?
No.
Yeah.
No, because they did it every time.
They did every time.
But they didn't hand it off, and I don't know. I mean, probably should have saw it coming, especially since it's only a minute left or whatever. But yeah. Well, we could have tackled him about 50 times too.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was a clear break. And
right.
That guy, I wasn't familiar with the running back, but I went to the Lake Braddock game as well. He's got an afterburner on him that's surprising, because he doesn't look all that fast when he's running. And he just like keeps going faster, like it's almost like a diesel. And next thing I know, he was gone. It was I was on that end zone, and it was coming at me. It was a pretty incredible play. Unfortunately for you, Coach. Yeah. So
thanks a lot. Bring back those great memories. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I'm sure like you said yourself, last year you got him, and maybe you shouldn't have, right? So
right. Yeah.
So, all right, Coach. Look, again, thanks for all you do, and I really appreciate your time today.
All right. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Talk to you soon.
Okay. See you.
All right, buddy.